Hey there guys, so today we have another beer talk, and this is pretty big news in my opinion. It was pretty big news when Heady Topper became the #1 beer on BeerAdvocate. I believe that was 2.5 to 3 years ago. Now it is no longer #1, it's #2. This is a pretty big change in my opinion. And so what has happened is that the owners of BeerAdvocate want to push people towards writing reviews instead of simply putting down a number. And to do that, what they've done is that before, with a beer rating, let's say you had a 95, both numbers, people just putting in like, oh, I think this is a 4.75, those people counted equally with the people that wrote a review and then rated a 4.75 or something like that. Now, only the people that have written 150 character reviews and rated the beer count towards the rating of a beer. All those people that, simply put in a number, this is what I thought about the beer, I tasted it, I didn't write anything, those people no longer count. And so that has vastly changed what the BeerAdvocate Top 250 looks like. I'll post you guys to a link to the archive website where they take snapshots of what a website looked in the past. And so previously, right before this change, the top 5 was Heady Topper, Kentucky Brunch Stout from Top and Goliath, Bourbon County Coffee, Barrel Aged Abraxas, Bourbon Barrel Vanilla Bean Dark Lord, with 6, 7, 8 being Pliny the Younger, Kentucky Breakfast Stout from Founders, Pliny the Elder. Now the list is Pliny the Younger is #1, overtaking Heady Topper, which is #2, Westy 12, Kentucky Breakfast Stout, Canadian Breakfast Stout, and Pliny the Elder. So very big change. And so the list just looks very different now. The top 250 used to be a lot of 100s out of 100s, all the way down to 97 out of 100 for the bottom top 250 range. Now it is hundreds out of 100. There's a lot less of those, and it goes all the way down to 94. That's a pretty big difference, that 94 to 97 difference. So the bottom of the top 250 is now 90 beers that get 94 out of 100. And again, the reason because of that is that they've extracted all this data from what beer's rating is now. You've extracted people that have simply given the number. It's only the reviews that counts now. So it just has completely shifted what a beer's rating is. And so yeah, I'm curious about what you guys think about that. My personal opinion is that first of all, yeah, it's very meaningful that you've removed all this, again, opinion or data from the rating of a beer. The sample sizes are just so small now that sometimes you just don't trust what the rating is. I might go towards Untapped for an opinion of a beer. If a new beer comes out, I'm curious if I go to a store or a bar, should I purchase that beer? Do I want to order that at the bar? And BeerAdvocate now, you might only get a handful of written reviews because not everyone wants to write reviews. I mean, I write pretty much all my reviews for all the beers that I have, but that's just me being crazy. Most people don't do that. On the other hand, Untapped, all you can do is just have the beer, go on the app and just swipe the number and just put it in, and it's very easy and accessible. So now you have a lot larger of a sample size on Untapped compared to BeerAdvocate. And so for newer beers, I'm certainly going to look at Untapped for the opinion of people instead of BeerAdvocate. And the other one that is pretty big is that the fact that Heady Topper is no longer #1. I think it was a great era. I mean, it was important that Heady Topper was #1. When I got into craft beer, chasing after that beer was fun. I mean, I was able to find it in a bar in Brooklyn, but it was my #1 beer for a long time, and it was so meaningful to go to Vermont to get some of that beer. It was so meaningful to try to trade for that beer. It put this mystique of Vermont being such an amazing place. The Bordeaux of wine. Vermont, the Vermont of beer, and it sets up more hype. Heady Topper, lifts up the other beers in Vermont, the Hill Farmsteads, the Lawsons, the Second Fiddle Mastermind, the Fiddlehead, sorry. And so it lifts up all these other breweries in Vermont, and it makes New England a special place. It makes Vermont a special place. On the other hand, now, having Pliny the Younger as your iconic #1 beer for the beer community, I think is less attractive for people. Again, if you guys don't know, Pliny the Younger is tap only once a year, only brewed once a year, and you only can get it at certain bars or the brewery in California or certain bars in Philadelphia. It's a hard chase. Most people can't do it. Almost everyone can't do it unless you live locally in California or Philadelphia. And also there's long lines. I've chased after Pliny the Younger, and that was unsuccessful because the keg is only that big and they had too many people online. So yeah, I think that's going to be a little bit of an issue. I really do think that it was meaningful that Heady Topper was #1. It's a beer that you can trade for. It's brewed year round. even though it's not the easiest beer to trade for and the numbers, the brewing production is not great, it is still a beer that is, acquirable. Whereas Pliny the Younger is just, the definition of an absurdly dumb beer to acquire. I mean, it's even harder, arguably, than something like Barrel Age Abraxas or Bourbon Barrel Vanilla Bean Dark Lord, because at least those beers, if you had a lot of rare beers, you can at least do it. Whereas Pliny the Younger, it's not bottled. You just have to do this absurd trip and wait online and do all these things and live in this certain area. I think it's actually even more inaccessible than some of the whalier beers out there. So yeah, very curious about your opinion. Post in the comments below. Until next time, guys, cheers. Later.